Morning rested gently over the frontier colony, smoothing the dusty plains with soft gold light and warming the dome homes scattered across the horizon. Elias Hale breathed it in like medicine. For him, peace wasn't just welcome, it was something he bled for in another lifetime. Inside his workshop, sunlight spilled across cluttered benches overflowing with spare circuits, unfinished stabilizers, and 3 different projects he'd sworn he would finish tomorrow. His son, Rowan, zigzagged between the shelves, pretending spare bolts were racing ships. His small laughter seemed too bright, too pure for a galaxy as unforgiving as theirs. Elias tightened a small coolant valve, humming an old Earth tune that no alien ever managed to hum correctly. The melody drifted through the room, warm, familiar, human. His mug beside him read Best TRY Hard Dad, a gift Rowan had printed crookedly and proudly. This thing's still holding together. Elias muttered to the device he worked on. Rowan held up her imaginary datapad. Captain, engine integrity is at 2%. Elias tapped his temple. Then it's flying exactly like I built it. They laughed together, the sound making the workshop feel like a sanctuary. The colony might have been small, underfunded, and ignored by most of the galaxy, but Elias had chosen it for a reason. It was quiet, safe, unremarkable, until the door exploded. The entire front frame crumpled inward, metal shrieking as armored giants stormed inside. 7 towering Vessery hunters, reptilian soldiers plated in dark alloy, their helmets etched with pulsing green runes that scanned the room like predatory eyes. Rowan froze. The bolts he'd been playing with scattered across the floor. Elias set his wrench down, straight and slowly, and said in the perfectly polite voice he used when he wanted to strangle someone, "Gentlemen, if you needed help opening the door, I could have assisted." Their commander stepped forward, massive, crested, with a voice like cracking basalt. "We are recovering unregistered offspring for Dominion behavioral study. You will surrender the juvenile." Elias blinked once, then pulled on a patient smile that did not reach his eyes. "Rowan isn't cargo. He stays." The Vessery spread out through the workshop, scanning tools, knocking over equipment, and scoffing at human engineering with dismissive clicks. One soldier picked up an unfinished grave stabilizer and announced, "Crude, inefficient. Human craftsmanship lacks sophistication." Elias kept his tone civil. "Took me a month. Actually, longer than your etiquette training, I assume." The commander lifted one claw, silencing him. "The child's neural development is required. He will be taken." Rowan grabbed Elias's shirt with trembling fingers. Elias placed a steady hand on his son's head. "You're not going anywhere. Understand." The Vessery moved as one. 2 soldiers ripped Rowan from his father's grip. The boy's quiet whimper shattered Elias from the inside out, but he didn't fight. Not yet. He simply stood still, memoizing every armor marking, every insignia, every breath the soldiers took. "You are committing a grave mistake," he said softly. "Humans dramatize," the commander hissed. Elias exhaled. "No, humans remember." The soldiers dragged Rowan toward a waiting skimmer parked outside. No screams, just the crushing silence of a father watching his world taken from him. The craft ascended, leaving a burning trail across the morning sky. Elias didn't move until the dust settled. His mug still sat steaming on the table, mocking him with normalcy. He walked to his workbench, pressed a hidden switch. A small holoscreen flickered to life. "Activate protocol, Mother Wolf. YON." His thumb hit yes. The signal launched through subspace, encrypted, ancient, unmistakably human. Veterans across half the galaxy would recognize its meaning instantly. A child has been taken. All limits are void. Minutes later, the sky ripped open as a gunship descended, its thrusters flattening grass and sending dust spiraling. Elias stood at the doorway, waiting, not shaking, not pleading, waiting like a storm waits to break. The hatch lowered. General Marinsol stepped out, sharp-eyed, steady, carrying the quiet fury of a woman who'd fought too many wars to tolerate another. Behind her lumbered 2 colossal figures, Urthari guardians, 9-foot mountains of muscle and fur, their golden eyes glowing with an intelligence older than the Dominion itself. Elias bowed slightly. "General, they took my boy." Marin lifted Rowan's wooden toy ship from the date. Her jaw tightened. Then we take everything back. But neither Elias nor the Dominion knew yet. What waited on the other side of the stars was a secret Earth never intended to unleash again until someone took a human child. The Dominion Interceptor, sleek and needle-shaped, carved through the high atmosphere with Rowan locked inside a containment pod no bigger than a stasis crate. The pod hummed softly, its surface glowing with shifting blue hexagons, Vessery biotech, alive in a way that made the air taste metallic. Rowan sat curled, arms wrapped around his knees. He'd been told by his father many times, when you're scared, breathe. When they want to see fear, give them silence instead. So he didn't cry, didn't beg, didn't speak. The scientists didn't understand silence. It unnerved them. His not reacting, one muttered, tapping a data pad with trembling claws. Human juveniles are meant to be expressive. The second scientist stepped back when Rowan looked up, not glaring, not angry, just watching. Deeply, quietly, as though he knew something they didn't. And he did. Far across the stars, the humans were coming. Aboard Earth's gunship Resolute, things were not much calmer. General Marin Sol stood before the holographic projection of the fleeing Dominion vessel. Her fingers glided across the controls, drawing trajectory lines and calculating potential hideouts. "They are headed to Sector 19, she murmured. "That region isn't on any Dominion trade route," Elias said behind her. "It's not a trade route," Marin replied. "It's their hidden lab cluster." The Orthari Guardians crouched behind them, enormous bodies filling the rear cargo hold like mobile walls. One sniffed the recycled air, rumbling with agitation. The other traced its claws along the hull as though listening to echoes no human it could detect. Elias tightened his harness, breath sharp. Every minute Rowan spent in that pod chipped deeper into the shell of calm he was trying so desperately to keep. "You said they needed him for neural testing," Elias said. "Testing for what?" Marin didn't look away from the hologram. "Fear conduction mapping. The Dominion believes human emotional surges are unique, especially in children." Elias's jaw clenched. "You're saying they wanted to scare him on purpose?" "No," Marin said quietly. "They wanted to extract the fear, turn it into energy, weaponize it." The Orthari nearest them growled, low and thunderous. Elias swallowed. "Then we take their ship apart." Marin offered a faint, grim smile. "That's the plan." Inside the Dominion vessel, panic had already begun to spread. On the bridge, Commander Sarth leaned over the console, eyes wide as new readings flashed across their displays. "Gravitational anomalies detected behind us," a pilot screeched. "Size." "Enormous. 2 biological entities, closing fast." Sarth hissed. "Biological? At that size?" So, they matched the heat signatures of the creatures from the human landing report. Silence cracked across the bridge. "Impossible," Sarth growled. "Those things were myths." Another tremor rocked the vessel. A second pilot shouted, "They're gaining," like they are tracking the child. Inside the research lab, Rowan raised his head at the vibration. He felt it. A rhythm. A call. The Orthari. They were coming for him. Rowan pressed his hand against the inside of his pod. "Dad," he whispered. "Hurry." Aboard the human gunship, sensors lit up. "They felt him," Marin said, watching the reading spike. The Orthari rose simultaneously, fur bristling. One slammed a paw against the wall, 3 rhythmic thumps. Elias startled. "What does that mean?" Marin took a breath. "It means Rowan isn't just alive. They've locked onto his scent. His heartbeat." "How?" "Orthari track kin. Anyone under human protection counts as their own." Elias blinked. "They adopted my son." Both giants huffed affirmatively. "Well," Elias exhaled, almost laughing in disbelief, "that's good news then." "It is," Marin said. "For us, not for the Dominion." The gap between the ships closed rapidly. The Dominion crew screamed over one another. "They are leaping." No biological creature can move that fast. Shields failing, impact imminent. Outside, 2 colossal shapes, muscle, fur, and fury, launched through the void like meteors with purpose. Elias gripped the seat. "General, They're on the hull. Marin nodded. They'll tear it open from the outside. We breach from the inside, rescue the boy, capture the vessel. And after that, Elias asked. Marin's eyes hardened. After that, we show the Dominion why humanity never fights alone. But even as they close in, none of them knew the Dominion wasn't running blindly. It was running towards something stolen from humans decades ago, something dark, dormant, and waiting to awaken. The Dominion warship carrier bucked violently as something enormous slammed onto its outer hull. The metal didn't simply dent. It buckled, groaning like a wounded beast. Every monitor on the bridge flickered sickly green, warning symbols spiraling across the screens like frantic distress calls. Commander Sareth grabbed the edge of the console. What in the void is on my ship? A junior officer stared at the sensor feed, trembling. 2 creatures. Not machines. Life forms. Their mass readings are off the charts. Saratha's tail lashed. Then shake them off. We can't, the pilot shouted. They are gripping the hull plating, deep. The ship lurched again. A section of ceiling crashed down. One of the officers choked out. Sir, they are tearing their way in. Sareth tasted fear in the recycled air of the bridge. This wasn't a human war tactic. This was something else. Something ancient. In the research bay, Rowan felt the ship tremble. The scientists had abandoned their data pads entirely now, retreating to corners as though hiding would help. That's impossible, one whispered. No being travels that fast unaided, another muttered. Maybe the humans unleashed something, a third hissed. Rowan's pod vibrated with each thunderous impact. The boy closed his eyes. Instead of fear, he whispered something so soft the frightened scientist leaned closer. They're almost here. Aboard the human gunship Resolute, the holomap shuddered. Marin watched 2 red blips, representing the Uathari, land on the Dominion vessel. Impact confirmed, an officer said. They've begun external breach. Elias unbuckled himself the moment the clamps locked. I'm going. Marin raised a hand. You don't enter until I clear a safe path, Elias. If they panic fire, they'll hit their own lab and your son. His jaw tightened. He needs me. I know, she said softly, but I need you alive when you reach him. Behind them, the 2 Uthari in the gunship crouched, mirroring the actions of their brethren outside. Their fur vibrated with low-frequency growls, communication waves too deep for humans to hear, but too powerful for any sensor to ignore. Then one Uthari stood abruptly and slammed its claws against the side of the ship, 3 sharp, resonant strikes. Marin's eyes widened. They found an entrance point. Elias swallowed hard. Then let's move. The Resolute extended its boarding lance. The spear-like tunnel shot outward, clamping onto the Dominion hull with a piercing metallic shriek. The interior filled with smoke and sparking wires. Red light stuttered along the corridor. Marina nodded to Elias. Stay close. If anything moves wrong, fall behind me. Elias tightened his fists. There's nothing in this galaxy I'm more afraid of losing than my son. Everything else? Background noise. The gunship's hatch blew open. Marin stepped through first, composed, deadly, terrifyingly calm. Human Marines flooded in behind her, moving like a storm wearing armor. Their weapons hummed with energy, their steps synchronized in trained silence. Elias followed, heart pounding. Behind them, the 2 Uthari launched themselves through the breach like living siege weapons. Chaos ruled the Dominion corridors. Soldiers scrambled for cover, their weapons shaking in their claws. Plasma shots bounced off the Uthari's thick fur as the creatures charged forward with impossible speed. One Uthari plowed through a squad of 4 soldiers, sending bodies scattering like toys. Another ripped open a sealed bulkhead with one arm, metal shrieking as it tore. Marin's Marines took the left corridor. The Uthari took the right. Elias followed the general, praying with every breath. Rowan, he called out. Only echo answered. Then, a small voice. Far away. Mama. Elias froze, head snapping up. That's him, he whispered. Marin pointed forward. Then that's where we go. In the lab, Rowan's containment pod toppled as the ship shuddered again. The nearest scientist yelped. They are coming through every level. How are they bypassing security? Rowan simply said, "They are not bypassing anything. They are breaking it." A moment later, the wall exploded inward. An Urthari shoulder charged through the bulkhead like it was soft clay. Metal fragments skittered across the floor. Its golden eyes locked on Rowan. Before the scientist could react, the creature's massive arm swung, not at Rowan, but at the pod itself, crushing the lock mechanism and bending the frame outward. Rowan stumbled out and stared up at the towering creature. "You're huge," he whispered. The Urthari lowered its head and released a soft rumbling purr, the same sound it had used when it accepted him earlier. Then Elias's voice echoed down the corridor. "Rowan!" "Dad!" Father and son collided in a breathless, shuddering embrace. Elias held him as if trying to fuse time back together. "You're safe?" Elias whispered. "I've got you." Marin stepped into the wrecked chamber, eyes widening at something behind the pod. A massive machine pulse in the corner, alive, humming, built with stolen Earth tech merged grotesquely with Dominion biocircuitry. "What is that?" Elias demanded. Marin's jaw clenched. That shouldn't exist. The Dominion resurrected something Earth destroyed decades ago." And as alarms blared and the weapon pulsed with awakening energy, Marin realized the Dominion hadn't just kidnapped a child. They had awakened humanity's darkest forbidden project, one capable of ending more than just empires. The chamber lights flickered wildly, casting long shadows across the grotesque machine pulsing in the corner. Tubes of luminous fluid pumped in irregular surges, as though the device was breathing, hungry, restless, alive. Its heart-like core glowed a deep, blood-red hue, each pulse sending a tremor through the metal floor. Elias instinctively pulled Rowan closer. "What did they build?" General Marinsol stepped forward, her expression turning grim, almost mournful. "They didn't build it," she said. "They stole it." One of the Urthari growled, bristling at the machine. "This," Marin continued, "is a resonance engine, an early human prototype. It turns emotional pressure into energy. The Council banned it, destroyed every fragment of research." Rowan's eyes grew wide. "But why would someone make that?" Elias answered, voice low and tight. "To win wars without bullets." Marin nodded. "The Dominion must have found the remnants from one of our old black site crashes, and now they are trying to fuel it with something they don't understand." She pointed to the severed wires along the floor, coated in a faint shimmer of psychic residue. They wanted a child because children produce unfiltered emotional spikes. Fear, confusion, panic, perfect resonance fuel. Elias's blood ran cold. So they needed Rowan's terror to power that monstrosity. Rowan squeezed his father's shirt. "I didn't give them anything. I wasn't scared. I just tried to not let them." Marin looked at the boy with a softness rare for her. "And you did perfectly. You starved their machine." One of the Urthari tapped the metal floor 3 times, an alert signal. The walls vibrated. Marin's breath hitched. "That engine is responding to us, to the fighting, to the fear in this ship." As if hearing her, the machine shuddered. A shockwave burst outward, silent, invisible, but powerful enough to make every console in the room glitch. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Elias shielded Rowan as alarms blared. A Dominion officer's voice crackled over the intercom. "Resonance engine destabilizing. Core approaching reactive threshold." Marin cursed under her breath. "If that thing overloads, the entire ship will fold in on itself, and everything within 5 clicks." Rowan looked up. "What does that mean?" Elias answered gently. "It means this ship could disappear. Completely." Rowan swallowed. "Dad, I don't want to disappear." "You won't," Elias said firmly. "Not while I'm breathing." The Urthari stepped forward, assessing the machine with a predator's gaze. One placed its paw on the primary conduit, feeling the vibration within. Marin motioned everyone back. "They want to destroy it." Elias frowned. "Won't that make it blow faster?" "Not if they tear out the core before it reaches peak surge." Rowan blinked. "You mean pull its heart out?" Elias gave a humorless smile. "Pretty much." The Urthari dug their claws into the machine's armored casing. Sparks flew. Metal shrieked under their strength. The Dominion had engineered the casing to be unbreakable. They hadn't engineered it to withstand Orthari. Within seconds, cracks spread across the surface. Marin raised her voice. Marines, defensive perimeter. If any Dominion officers storm this room, we hold the line. Human soldiers moved swiftly, forming a shield wall around Elias and Rowan. Then the machine screamed, not with sound, with pressure. A psychic surge blasted outward, throwing 2 Marines off their feet. The Orthari staggered, their claws slipping from the casing. Rowan cried out, gripping his father's hand. Elias gritted his teeth. They are fighting it. Can't we shut it down? We can't, Marin said. It's connected to the ship's neural grid. If we cut the power, it'll cannibalize the ship's core to stay alive. The machine pulsed again, more violently. Red light flooded the chamber. A Dominion broadcast crackled through. Engine approaching critical mass. Evacuate. Evacue. The message cut out. Marin's eyes darted across the displays. Elias, the ship's collapsing into a resonance loop. If we don't remove that core in the next 2 minutes. A massive boom shook the room. A new voice boomed across intercoms. Human dreadnoughts detected at close range. Marin swore. They are boarding us. They think we're here for conquest. They don't realize their own weapon is about to implode. Elias held Rowan tighter. General, what do we do? The Orthari roared simultaneously. They cracked the casing. Red lightning crackled inside the opening, the pulsing heart of the engine exposed like a living star. Marin drew her blade. We finish this. Now. But as the Orthari reached into the machine's core, something inside the weapon awakened. Something old, something sentient, and it whispered a single word that froze Marin in place. Human. The exposed core throbbed like an open wound. Raw, furious, awakened. Tendrils of red light energy curled outward, forming shapes that flickered like half-formed thoughts. The air grew heavy, thick enough that every breath felt like swallowing molten metal. And then, from the heart of the engine, came that voice again. Cold, artificial, human, human. General Marin's soul froze. Her grip on her blade faltered. Elias felt Rowan tighten his hold on his arm. Dad, what was that? Marin forced her voice steady. The original resonance engine AI. The Dominion must have managed to salvage its core consciousness. But it sounds alive, Elias whispered. It isn't alive, Marin said, eyes fixed on the core. It's worse. It remembers. The core surged, projecting ghost-like images, shattered battlefields, Earth soldiers screaming, energy waves ripping through alien fleets. Vision from the very experiments that had led humanity to bury the project. The Dominion scientists had never seen this part. They'd awakened something older than their empire. Something that had tasted the dark side of humanity. Rowan whimpered. It's angry. Marin shook her head. No, it's hungry. It was designed to feed on pressure, fear, adrenaline, desperation. And right now, the ship is drowning in all 3. The energy tendrils swept through the room, analyzing each of them. The Orthari growled, bracing themselves. The Marines raised their rifles. Then the core whispered again. Human, pressure, available. And its glow deepened like a starving beast finding a meal. Marin reacted instantly. Orthari, rip the heart out now. The 2 giants lunged at the core, claws plunging into its glowing lattice. The engine screamed, not with sound, but psychic force. Marines clutched their heads. Lights blew out. A console exploded behind Elias, raining metal shards. Rowan cried, Make it stop. Elias held him tighter. I know, buddy, I know. The Orthari strained, muscles bulging as sparks lashed their fur. The core thrashed like a living animal, trying to pull itself deeper into the machine. Marin braced her stance. Elias, Rowan, behind me. The chamber convulsed violently as the Orthari tore, pulled, ripped, and finally wrenched the core free from its housing. The light vanished. Silence swallowed the ship. Then, boom, the ship lurched as pressure equalized. The core went dark, collapsing into a dead cube of dense alloy, smoldering in the claws of an Orthari. Marin exhaled. It's over. But she was wrong. A violent shudder rippled through the floor. Sparks shot from the ceiling. A dozen Dominion officers screamed over the intercom. Human dreadnoughts have surrounded us. They're initiating takeover protocol. Our fleets are collapsing across all sectors. We surrender. We surrender. Static. Marin activated her comm. This is General Saul aboard the Dominion vessel. Stand down. I repeat, stand down. We have hostages on board. Child secured. Engine neutralized. A deep, commanding voice responded. Acknowledged, General. Full military control established. Dominion command grid collapsing. Proceeding to secure all sectors. Elias blinked. You took their entire empire in an hour. Marin glanced at him. Elias, you sent a mother wolf signal. Every dormant human black site, every hidden battalion, every allied species under our protection activated at once. Rowan sniffled. So, humans won. Marin looked at the wreckage, the terrified Dominion soldiers kneeling in the hallway, the dreadnought shadows stretching across the stars outside. No, she said softly. This wasn't winning. This was a warning. The Uathari placed a dead core on the floor, rumbling a low, satisfied growl. Elias ran his fingers through Rowan's hair. Let's take you home, kid. Rowan nodded, gripping his father's hand. As they moved toward the extraction corridor, Dominion officers stumbled out of hiding, hands raised in surrender. One trembling commander stared at the Uathari, then at Elias. What are you? He whispered. Elias paused. A father holding his child. A man who had reclaimed what was stolen. A human who had learned that peace isn't granted, it's defended. He looked back, voice low and cold. Someone you should have never provoked. Behind him, the Uathari roared, a sound so ancient and powerful the Dominion commander flinched the floor. Marin spoke over the ship-wide channel. This is General Saul. Operation Child's return is complete. Engage restructuring protocols. The Dominion belongs to the Allied worlds now. Elias carried Rowan through the ruined hallway as the ship docked with a human dreadnought. Rowan whispered, Dad, are the bad guys gone? Elias kissed his forehead. No, but they're done hurting us. They stepped into the bright corridor of the dreadnought, clean, solid, human. Marin joined them and said quietly, This day will be remembered, Elias. Not because we fought, but because they finally understood what happens when they take one of ours. But even as peace settled, somewhere deep in Dominion space, another forbidden engine blinked online, awakening in response to the death of its twin. The war they stopped today might only have been the opening whisper of what's coming next.